Hi YouTube. Finally gonna show you how I made my crochet sweater today with this V-stitch. I love it. It's been my obsession lately. I'm wearing a two-tone and my model here is wearing a size small. As you can see, the one that I'm wearing is elbow. The sleeve is like elbow height or length, I'm sorry. And she's wearing an extra long long sleeve because my daughter likes that. So I'm finally get to show you how we're gonna make this today. So let's get started. So you just make a loop and pull that string through the loop. So now we have a slip knot. We're going to chain 80. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now because I don't want my chain 80 to be twisted, I'm going to insert my hook on that first chain 1 and make sure I'm not twisted. So I'm at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And this is how I make sure my chain is not twisted. It takes time to get used to, but it's worth the effort. So I'm gonna continue my chain till I reach 80 chain. There is my 80 chain, and this is our neckline. Okay, so now we're going to slip stitch into that first chain to form a circle. So there's our circle. Make sure you can see it. There's our circle. Now on our first row, the first row is going to be a chain of a row of single crochet. So we're going to chain 1 and single crochet in that first stitch. We're going to repeat that, and as you can see, I'm weaving in my end as I crochet my first row. So single crochet in the next stitch, and we'll continue until we reach the end of row. So you're just going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull through the chain, and yarn over, pull through 2 stitch. That's how you single crochet. Insert your. So I just stitched my last single crochet. So now I'm going to complete this row because we're working in rounds. We're going to complete it with a slip stitch, and we're gonna insert our hook on this chain 1 that we did in the beginning of the row. So we're gonna insert our hook there, yarn over, pull through, and pull through all the way, and that's how you do a slip stitch. So now we have our round. So row 2 is going to be a row of double crochet. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to insert double crochet in the next stitch, and we're going to continue to insert double crochet in each stitch until we reach the end of the row. So you just yarn over, insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. That'll give you 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's how you do a double crochet. Again, yarn over, insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, double crochet. So we're going to repeat that until we reach the end of this row, and I will see you there. So I've completed my row 2 of double crochet. It is just a row of double crochet. So I'm at the end, and we're going to complete this row with a slip stitch from the chain 3, the beginning of the row. Okay, there's your complete row 2. So now row 3, it is the row where we begin our V-stitch. So you're going to chain 3, and we're going to skip a stitch, and we're going to insert 2 double crochet in the next one, and there's your V-stitch. Again, yarn over, skip a stitch, and go to the next one and insert 2 double crochet, skip a stitch, V-stitch. And there's our V-stitch beginning to form. Skip a stitch, 2 DC in the next stitch. Okay, so we're going to repeat that until we reach the on the other side. All right, I'm at the end of row 3, and I've finished all my V-stitch pattern, as you can see. So now we're going to move on to row 4. Row 4 is an increase row. Let's get started. So here we go. We are now working on row 4. Remember, this is an increase. So to complete row 3, we're going to slip stitch on that chain 3, the beginning of the row, and there's your row 3 completed. So row 4, you're going to chain 3 again. And now we're going to insert a V-stitch here, and insert a V-stitch in a V-stitch. There you go. Now because this is an increase row, we're going to insert a double crochet in between the V-stitch. Okay. So insert your double crochet in the next stitch, and now we're going to insert a V-stitch in the next V-stitch, and V-stitch in the next V-stitch. So the pattern for row 4 is V-stitch, DC, V-stitch, DC. Okay, so insert a double crochet in the next stitch, then 2 V-stitch, 1 and 2. Okay, now DC in the next stitch. Okay, I hope you can see the pattern. Now 2 V-stitch in the next V-stitches, 1 V-stitch, 2 V-stitch, and insert a double crochet in the next stitch. Okay, so again we have V-stitch, DC, 1 V-stitch, 2 V-stitch, DC, 1 V-stitch, 2 V-stitch, DC, 1 V-stitch, 2 V-stitch. Okay, so we're going to continue that until the end of row. Right, this is the complete row 4 of my yoke. As you can see, we already have 2 rows of V-stitch, and because row 4 is an increase, there's a V-stitch, DC, V-stitch, V-stitch, DC, V-stitch, V-stitch, and a DC. So now we're going to work on row 5 and 6 is going to repeat row 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and show you guys how we begin row 5. Okay, so to complete row 4, we're going to slip stitch again on that chain 3 in the beginning of the row. Here you go. Now chain 3 to begin row 5, and we're going to insert a V-stitch here, and this is your DC. This was the increase on row 4, so we're going to insert a DC on top of that DC, and then V-stitch. So we're just repeating what row 4 is. So row 5 and 6 is not an increase. I'm sorry, they're not an increase. Okay, so we're just going right on top of row 4, and there's your double crochet, V-stitch, and V-stitch, insert double crochet in that double crochet, and V-stitch again. So I'm gonna do that for row 5 and row 6. So I will see you at the end of row 6. There you go. This is how row 5 looks like. I'm at the end of row 5, and I'm just going to slip stitch and begin row 6. No changes. We're still going to do what we did in row 4. So to complete row 5, I'm going to slip stitch. Okay, now row 6. So chain 3, V-stitch, DC, double crochet, V-stitch again, V-stitch again, and double crochet, 2 V-stitch, and double crochet. Okay, and that's how we'll do row 6, and I will see you at the end of row 6. We are at the end of row 6. Okay, as you can see, the yoke is beginning to form. So we're just gonna keep increasing that. I'm turn it this way so you guys can see it. There you go. So this is how your sweater is becoming. So to complete row 6, again, we're simply going to slip stitch, and that completes row 6. So now row 7 is an increase. So chain 3, and we're going to V-stitch, double crochet in the next double crochet, V-stitch again, V-stitch in the next V-stitch. Okay, now we're going to insert another double crochet in between these 2 V-stitch. So V-stitch in the next stitch. I'm sorry, double crochet in the next stitch. Let's see that again. V-stitch, double crochet in the next double crochet, V-stitch in the next V-stitch, and now we're going to increase by inserting a double crochet in the next stitch, which is in between these 2 V-stitch. Okay, and then continue to do V-stitch again, double crochet in that double crochet, V-stitch, and double crochet in the next stitch. So there's your pattern: V-stitch, DC, V-stitch, DC, V-stitch, DC. We're going to continue that until the end of row 7. And we're also going to repeat row 7 for row 8 and 9. No increases for 8 and 9. We're simply going to repeat row 7. Okay, I'll see you at the end of row 7. I am at the end of my row 7, and I'm going to complete this row. So complete row 7 again with a slip stitch. Okay, and now we're going to repeat row 7 for row 8 and 9. Chain 3, V-stitch, double crochet in the double crochet, and V-stitch in the V-stitch. So you're just going to follow the row below, which is row 7. V-stitch, DC, V-stitch. Okay, so again, we're going to repeat row 7 for row 8 and 9. So I'm working on row 8, and I will also do the same thing for row 9. So I will see you at the end of row 9. Oh, yeah, so you can see that the yoke is forming nicely. All right, we are at the end of row 9, and to end row 9 we're going to slip stitch on that chain 3 from the beginning of the row. Okay, so this is how it looks so far. As you can see, the yoke is forming just fine. So what we're gonna do next is row 10. Row 10 is an increase, so we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and we're gonna do a V-stitch on the first V-stitch. Let me unravel some of my yarn here. Okay, and now we're going to insert 2 double crochet in this double crochet. Just 1 double crochet and 2 double crochet. There you go. So this first double crochet in between these 2 V-stitch, we're going to convert it into a V-stitch. So continued V-stitch, and oops, now we're going to double crochet in the next double crochet, right, and then insert a V-stitch in the next V-stitch, and double crochet in the next double crochet and another one, insert another double crochet. So the pattern is V-stitch, 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 I'm sorry, V-stitch, 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 double crochet. So it's 3 V-stitch and then a double crochet. There you go. 1, 2, 3 V-stitch and then a double crochet. All right. V-stitch inside this double crochet, and another V-stitch, and then a double crochet only. Again, row 10 is 3 V-stitch and then a double crochet. Okay, 3 V-stitch, double crochet, 3 V-stitch, double crochet, and we're going to repeat that until end of row. All right, I'm going to continue my 3 V-stitch and 1 double crochet until the end of row. My row 10, and now I'm going to repeat row 10 for row 11 and 12. Again is 1 2 3 V-stitch and then double crochet, 1 2 3 V-stitch and then double crochet. See? All right, let's get to it. Slip stitch to end row 10, chain 3, V-stitch. So no changes to row 11 and 12. We're just simply repeating row 10. Again, double crochet, 3 V-stitch, double crochet. Three V-stitch, 1 2 and 3, and then double crochet. So we're going to repeat that until the end of row, and then repeat it again for the 12th row. I have completed row 11 and 12. I am now going to be working on row 14. I'm sorry, row 13, which is an increase. So let's work on that. Okay, so row 13, let me complete row 12 first with a slip stitch and then chain 3. Oh, let me show you how it looks so far. So this is how the yoke is looking so far. So row 13 is an increase, and what we're going to do is V-stitch, V-stitch, V-stitch. This double crochet, we're going to convert it into a V-stitch. So every double crochet here, not the V-stitches, the standalone double crochets, as you can see, it's like 1 2 3 V-stitch and then double crochet, 1 2 3 V-stitch, double crochet. So that's what we're going to do, is an increase. So V-stitch and another V-stitch, and another V-stitch. So chain 3, V-stitch, and now this double crochet, this standalone double crochet, we're going to convert it into a V-stitch, because the whole row of row 13 is all V-stitch. Okay, so the next V-stitch, V-stitch, and the next V-stitch, and another one. So now we're here at the standalone double crochet. We're going to convert it to a V-stitch. Going to insert 2 double crochet to form a V-stitch. Okay. So if you have any questions regarding this pattern, make sure to leave me a comment below, and I do my best to quickly respond to your questions or comments. Okay, so we're going to continue our row 13, 14 and 15. 14 and 15, we're just going to repeat 13. It's just going to be a row of V-stitch all the way for 14, and row 15 is just a row of V-stitches. So here again, the standalone double crochet, we're converting to a V-stitch. All right. completed my row 16. There it is. So now row 17, what we're going to do is the double crochet. Row 17 is also going to be an increase, and the double crochet that we added after each 4 V stitches, we're going to convert that into stitches. We're going to convert that into a V stitch. So let me show you an example. Okay, I'm on row 17, chain 3, V stitch, V stitch, another V stitch on my 3rd V stitch now, and on my 4th V stitch. Okay, 1 2 3 4 V stitch, and then remember we added this double crochet as an increase. Well, we're going to convert that into a V stitch. There you go. So 17, row 17 again is an increase, and we're going to repeat this. Going to repeat this pattern of 4 V stitch. And when we run into the double crochet, we're going to convert it into V stitch. And that's the pattern. So 4 V stitch, and when you get to the standalone double crochet, you convert it into a V stitch. Okay, let me do another one for you guys so you can see. V stitch, V stitch, 3rd V stitch, 4th V stitch, and here is our standalone DC, our standalone double crochet. We're going to convert it into a V stitch. Okay, so I will see you at the end of row 17. So you've gotten this far. I've actually completed my yoke. There it is. And instead of doing 18 rows, I went ahead and repeated the 18th row, which is no increase. It's all V stitch. So the last 2 rows, which is 18 and 19, are all V stitch, no increases. So now what we're going to work on is the sleeve. The sleeves and the body of the crochet sweater. Now I do have a written pattern. There it is, and I will have this written pattern in my website, and I'll have the link in the description below. But excuse me, I wanted to explain my technique because it was sort of hard explaining how to follow the pattern through without doing a video for it. So we're gonna go ahead in our next video. I'm going to show you how to add the sleeves and the body for the crochet sweater. Now I am making this for a large or extra large, and what I've done is I've added a stitch mark. So let me see how many. Let's see, it's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So I counted 6 V stitch, and then I added a marker, and this will be the hole for the arm. So I did the same thing on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, here's 10 right here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9. Make sure. Same amount on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is why it's good to count, because what I'm going to do is add another V-stitch to this. So I'll have 10 here on this side and 10 on this side. And then this is where the body is. Okay, so in our next video we're going to get started with working the arm. I'll see you there.